The following is a short video going over how you can edit your buttons in Counterpoint Point of Sale. Counterpoint refers to this layout as touchscreen. For the beginning of this video, we will talk about how this form is laid out. The terms that are used here will be useful when we get into actual editing. The top row of buttons you see here, Counterpoint refers to as top row. Over here we have a group of buttons that Counterpoint will refer to as a button page. And down on the bottom right, we have a group of buttons that Counterpoint refers to as our fixed rows. Now, most of what you see on this screen is user definable. For example, we can choose how many top row buttons that we have. We can choose how many columns across for our button pages and how many columns down. And we can also choose how many rows that we want for our fixed rows. Other portions of this are customizable by right-clicking in the area here and going to Column Designer. If you want to change your fields, that can be done right from Point of Sale. And this section I won't talk about right now, but you can have some control over your document totals. So without any further ado, we will now go into the actual editor for Counterpoint touchscreen editing. This is found under Setup, Point of Sale, Touchscreen Codes. Now you will need to know which code is being used for your store. The easiest way to find that is under Point of Sale, Stations. And you will want to pull up your station. In this case, I am pulling up my main store and my station 1. And I can see here that I have a touchscreen code called Combo. Now for my demo company, I use Combo for all my stations and all my stores, but you can have different layouts at a station level if you chose to. So now that I know the touchscreen that I want to edit, I will go into Setup, Point of Sale, Touchscreen Codes. I'll go find my layout that I wish to edit, which is Combo. And this will bring me here where I can click on Button Editor. Now, a good habit is prior to making any changes, I would encourage you to go to the Layout tab, and you have a choice here called Save, and you can save a copy of this layout before you make any changes. In my example, I'm going to call this TS for touchscreen, the name of the layout, and I'll typically put a date stamp so that it's obvious to me if I come back later which order of these I edited. The whole point of having this fallback is if in the course of editing, if you were to make some horrible change that you didn't intend to, you could always come back at a later date. You can go to the Layout tab, you can click on Load, and you can select a previous layout. As soon as you select a layout and click Open, that layout comes back into play and you're right back wherever you left off. To talk a little bit about this editor itself, there's a General tab. Most of these settings are things that we will set up at the time or prior to go live. Typically, these are not changes that you would make very frequently, but this is where we choose how many top row buttons, so the reason there's 9 here is because of this setting. The reason why this grid on the right, this button page, the reason this is 4 across is because that is our columns. The reason why this is 4 down is because that's our rows, and down here are fixed 1, 2, 3. That was set here. Again, not something that should be edited lightly, but if you're at the very beginning of your Counterpoint install and you realize that you need some additional rows or columns, now is a great time to make those kind of choices. Where most editing takes place is on the buttons page. And one of the most common examples of things that people want to change or edit, they wish to add button to their touchscreen. A very common button that they might add is just a shortcut button to an item that they ring up right at the register. So for that example, I'm going to click on a button here called Favorites. And this is our main page that I'm on right now, main menu. I want to go to this Favorites button, and I can see here the action type is button page. The name whereof the page I wish to go to is called Favorites. Now I could navigate to that by clicking here and navigating until I see Favorites. Another way to get there is simply, if it's a button page action, I can highlight that button and I have a follow me link right here that will take me to this page. In my example, I have some item buttons already. I'll highlight one of these so you can see when the button on the right is highlighted, it will tell you our action. And this is where I could, if I wish, I could set up an image. I can have my caption. I can even have a hint. Hint is what you see if you hover over a button with the mouse, and other things we might do. Since this is of type item action, then we will want to specify which item. So in my example, I have a number of item buttons already created. For example, umbrella, hat, golf shirt. I have a button for an 18-hole round of golf, and maybe I realized I would like to have a shortcut for my 9-hole round of golf. Now, I already have that item created, but you'll notice right now I don't have a button for that. So I could build this button from scratch, and what that would look like is I would highlight this button. I would go to my list of actions, and in this case, you can see there's quite a few choices to choose from. The choice I would be looking for is called item, and I would then give this a caption. I would call this perhaps 9 holes, and because it is of type action item, I would need to come down and select the item, and this is my lookup. So I can do an item lookup and find that item. Now you'll notice at first glance it doesn't look like that's refreshed on the right. I can click my preview button, or if I'm making changes and I just simply click on another square, that will refresh. So that was an example of building that from scratch, but also show you I could also create that button by copying from an existing. So if I wanted to, I could click on 18 holes. I could click copy, put my cursor where I want this to go, and click paste, and you'll notice it copied that. Now in this case, since it's of type item, it copied everything, and I want to update this to be the correct caption. I don't know if I really need a hint. I think most people can figure out that 9 holes means 9 holes. And for my item, I will update this to be the 9 holes item. And again, I'm just hitting preview to refresh that. Don't be thrown off here by the fact that the image for this is called Golf 18. It is just that image, and that looks perfectly good for both the 18 and the 9 holes. So as I've been making changes, it's never a bad habit to exit as you go along here. I hit close, and I'll save my changes. And we'll go off now. We'll go test what we just created so we can see how that looks. So to test that, I will simply go back into standard Counterpoint. And a quick test of what we've created, I can go to my favorites. You can see here are my new buttons. If I click 18 holes, I get my 18-hole green fee. If I click 9 holes, I get the 9 holes. So that's a great example of creating a new button by copying from an existing button. I'm going to leave point of sale for a moment. We'll go back to our editor. A few other things to point out. We were on the favorites tab, and again we used the follow me link to easy way to get there. I can create new buttons simply by highlighting a square and building it from scratch, or I can copy from an existing. And you do have the whole library of buttons in Counterpoint to copy from, by the way. We typically leave this more buttons on your menu, because if you follow that link, here's a link to all the different things that you can do in Counterpoint. So you could go in, play with this from point of sale, and maybe you realize that from a station function standpoint, the no sale that pops open your cash drawer, maybe you realize, hey, we'd like that to have that a little closer to our top of our menu. So I could go find that. I could click copy. I'm going to navigate back up to my main page, which is main menu. Looks like I have an open square here, and I'll go ahead and paste that in. Now maybe I don't want 2 orange buttons right next to each other, so I can click here for color. I've got a number of colors to choose from. I can even go to other and be as specific as I want. I could even, if you have particular branding or colors, you could even go so far as putting in your specific colors. So I'll go ahead and save that. And again, you don't see that refreshed until I hit preview or click off the square. That looks just a little bit light to me. So I'm going to go back to my color menu make that a little darker so that white text pops a little bit. In case you're wondering where the text colors come from, we have a place to select fonts here, and you have a whole range of fonts you can choose from. In this case, I'll probably choose a white background. Maybe I want a little bold so it stands out a little bit, and say okay that. And that made that font a little bit bigger, a little bit more enhanced. As we've been going along, I've been using existing pages. So for example, when I went here and clicked the follow me, Counterpoint refers to a group of buttons as a button page. And right now I'm on the favorites. But maybe I need a second favorites page. A really easy way to create a new page is copy from an existing. So I will copy from my favorites. I'll hit copy page, and I'll give this a name. We will call this favorites 2. And this will have, at the moment I've copied the existing buttons, but I'll clear those out. And I expect we will have a whole brand new set of buttons to choose from. A few of these out. And this will be probably something entirely new. So for my options, I will just call this a new item. Not sure even yet what that will be, but we will create that as a placeholder. So there's my favorites 2. Now you wonder, well, how will we navigate there? I'm going to go back to where we came from, favorites 1. And maybe I just need a more button here. So I'll take advantage of an existing button called more. I'll copy that, paste that here. This is a type or action type of button page. And down here I get to specify where I go. So we will say this will take us to favorites 2. And as long as we're here, may be a good time to put a back button. So I'm going to copy from this back button and drop it here. And I don't need the shortcut. I'll just give that a title, call this back. So this always goes back. If I follow this one, I go to my favorites 2. I think I might copy this as well. Actually, I might make this a home button. We'll copy the home button. See, here we are on favorites 2. And we'll copy this, and we'll just say home. So if I've been editing, if I've gotten that far, maybe at that point I just want to go home. All right, so we should try out these changes. I'm going to go back one page to favorites. This looks good. This looks good. We will go and try this out. I will save my changes here. And this is what that looks like. So here we are. I go to my favorites. You can see we now have some new buttons here. We had added 9 holes earlier. I can go to more buttons. Here's my new item. I can always hit home. Takes me back to where I started. So that's a little bit about button pages and navigating between the different button pages. There will be follow-up videos that focus on some of the individual things that you can do within touchscreen editing.